I mean, it goes with the bell curve theory, honestly, like all these influencers like advertise, be a free man and, make shitload of money, you know, uh, all these grandeur things, but really,
Mm,
realistically, that's only like the top like 5% of the population that could really handle that. Because it takes a
yeah.
lot of, I mean, yes, it's fine and dandy to have money, have, access to women, whatever, like whatever they say out there. But like to maintain it all, to not, not have yourself get destroyed in the process, that there's only a certain, faction of people that can really, really do that. I mean, even I struggle to do that. Um, and it's kind of like what the like how social media affects men versus like as opposed to like women if they get like delusionized from like from however they how we talk about that a lot, but we don't really talk about how social media affects men, and that's one of the ways that they kind of
Mm,
not every man is really destined or designed to handle all that work. It's a lot of work that goes behind all that stuff. I mean, once you reach a new level of income, like you have to work to protect it more so than anything. It's not even just about making the money at that point. It's like protecting it, not being a dumbass, and just like throwing it all away on dumb shit, So, that's where you get run into trouble with the crypto kids who like have no fucking clue what the concept of money is. They just happen to, get really lucky on a couple of coins, and then and then all of a sudden they think they're the shit. I'm like, no, no, I don't know about that. Um,
mm,
but yeah, I think a lot. I think we've been sort of hyper. I don't know what the word is, but like we're very. Our goals are set quite high because of social media in a lot of
conditioned,
ways.
yeah.
Yeah, and then
Hmm.
I think like because of that, you know, anything less than that is seen as a failure, and that's I think that's what's causing the depression is that gap between reality and expectations is so wide amongst both men and women.
Mm,
And sometimes it's just, some people just are meant to, work the 9 to 5s. That's like, I mean, and I hate to say the word mediocre because it sounds terrible, but like to live quote unquote ordinary lives. Because that
hmm.
has to be the most of the population. I think that otherwise, like, not everybody can be like fucking billionaires. That won't last. I don't know. That's something that I thought about in a while. It's like not everybody's designed for this. Like, it's yeah, it's a lot more work than people think.
Yeah, the whole negative, how people are affected negatively, especially. Well, I guess we'll say how men specifically are affected negatively by social media, and it's not actually talked about. I'll think about this one because I really want to get into a deep dive. Apart from the superficial things, like it destroys your confidence, of course. Constantly
Mhm.
comparing yourself to, especially when you see, the funniest shit is you'll see like this 21-year-old kid and he's like worth fucking multiple millions of dollars driving all your favorite cars, and you're like 30 years old, for example, and you're busting your ass at your dead end job and you're making shit pay and your boss is riding your ass and you got like no woman, no dating prospects because you're priced out of the market. And that shit will drive you crazy. That's just one of the many ways that you'll get driven crazy. It's just seeing shit like that. People that are living your dream life and they're younger than you, or if you don't attain that, or until you attain that, it's like you said, expectations, you're a fucking loser. Like
Mhm.
you're a waste of breath for everybody around you, which is an insane message to put on young men, especially. Well, any man, really. It's like your value. We understand that our value is derived by the value we create for society and those around us. Like it is what it is, right? We don't have vaginas. We don't birth babies. We're cheap and disposable. That's the way nature made it for us. So when you're seeing all this shit on social media constantly drilled in your brain, you got to think we're older, so we're more resistant to this shit. And some of us here have more successful lives than others. And can you imagine what it's like to be 13, 12 years old and starting in this era and seeing that
Mhm.
kind of shit online nonstop? Nonstop, you're being told you need, like, what color is your Bugatti? And are you making hundreds of millions? And are you fucking flying on private jets? And shit like this. And like, this should be normal. It's pushed as normal. This is what normal should look like. And anything beyond that is like a nightmare scenario. And then, of course, people are depressed. Of course, they start to cope with crazy shit. And this is why men start to get these little coping addictions of like video games, of porn, of whatever drugs that they're doing. and whatever else that guys are picking up, right? And exacerbating it. And you're a doctor, you know, like isolation, what that does to somebody's mental health and their physical health, you know?
Comparison is the
Yeah.
root of all evil.
Yeah, dude. We
Trust me, I lived,
really
and I'm Asian. I've lived through that with my parents. They forced me into that realm. So I had to break out of that one. That was not easy to like to not take too seriously, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a healthy dose of competitiveness, but also it's
Right.
metastasized into something disgusting. Unattainable for most people. It's like, okay, get a good job, get a good pay, be able to be, a provider for a family in a stable position, but
Yeah.
when those basics are taken away from you economically, look, not everybody is struggling economically. Some people here are winning big time and shit like that, but for the average person in an average job, especially when you hear like my grandpappy was working, you know, a decent job at a factory and he could afford the American dream. And it's like, well, dude, I do the basic factory job or warehouse work and I can't afford shit. I need roommates. So it's also not fair. And yeah,
Yeah.
and then you throw in women's because I wanted to talk about this. So you throw in women's expectation. I think I'll talk about this tomorrow on the stream, but the expectations that women are being fed from social media of what an average guy is like it's gotten way worse than even when I covered it a few years ago. Like, dude, they don't live in reality and they're so disconnected and delusional that they can't even get along with even the guys at the top. I got friends back in Phoenix that are, you would think like specimens. They're 6'4", 6'5". The dudes look fucking incredible. They're making a ton of money. They literally have a dream lifestyle. And they're single and they were telling me the stories when we were going hiking. I couldn't fucking believe some of the shit I was hearing. Like women are absolutely fucking brain dead, or they expect these guys of all guys, the top percentile, to bend over backwards for them. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, holy fuck, that's even worse than it was just a few years ago. And holy shit, if these guys, if they're demanding shit like average bird brains are demanding shit from men on this level, what the fuck is going on for a normal guy in the dating pool? Nothing. That's the point. Zero, you're invisible. Dude, it's insane.
Yeah.
Insane. The market is that there is no incentive almost for a young man today. Your only incentive is literally, I think, your family. Honestly,
Mm.
I think a man's greatest incentive today is like pulling your parents up out of poverty or retiring your parents early, like I did. Something like that that makes you feel good, right? I mean, that's like the only thing you can really hang on to because we don't have families, we don't have kids anymore. So it's like you got to find something greater than yourself to give you purpose and find a path in life to get there. Otherwise, you're just kind of living for yourself. It's hard to be motivated every day to do something in that position. It really is. If you don't have a dream or a goal that's bigger than yourself, dude, it's hard to get out of bed. I'm telling you, you can only motivate yourself so much if you're just living for the day. That's a trap right there. That's dangerous.
Yeah, it's not even that, but like, especially with social media, but I'm talking about also like, how I grew up. You're almost living in somebody else's world and not your own. And that also kind of plays on your psyche where it's not really what you wanted out of life. And
Mm-hmm.
you're living through just like some influencer's life, or in my case, the way my parents wanted me to live. Then that's something I had to contend with as well. Was like that's not how I wanted to do things. Okay, albeit I ended it in a decent situation where yes, I became a doctor, fantastic, great, but I could be a drug dealer or some kind of like some kind of pimp or something like that. I could have ended up in so many ways. But like you know, it, so I'm in a decent place to get here, but like at some point though, you have to sort of break free from somebody else's vision of you, and
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately though, like you were just saying, like we it's hard to do that nowadays because we're just fed poor information from the internet and social media, and then we don't have the resources to be able to do these kinds, try new things, take risks, do all sorts of things. Never in a million years would like freaking 10 years ago when I graduated medical school. I'm never in a million years where I would be thinking that I could become a coffee farmer. By the way, I
Right.
bought that
Yeah.
coffee
Nice.
if the purchase went through, so we get some baller
Congratulations.
ass coffee. But anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, and also like moving out of the United States too, like or like thinking about my life outside the United States, I never even imagined that. But it's like you said, men need purpose of some sort, and it's when you find that purpose, I mean, it certainly helps for sure. But it's very liberating in that regard because you sort of get that
Mhm.
freedom of your own mind, really, your own peace of mind.
Yeah, I notice myself too when I'm on social media. I fucking obviously it's mean dopamine hit after dopamine hit, but and then people form parasocial relationships, of course, with their favorite creators and all that stuff. And the decreased attention span, for example, is like another big one. The comparison trap that you were talking about too. The problem is also, I think it's the partially the echo chambers, right? So you get into these communities and you hear what you want to hear, and the algorithm drives you there on purpose. So then you're fed into this feedback loop that's feeding you the exact thing that you probably shouldn't be consuming. And for example, say red pill rage content is extremely popular. Like men dunking on women, I've done my fair share of dunking on women, but I've noticed even as a creator, the content I make, if I make a video tomorrow dunking on women, it'll get like 100,000 views. If I make a video on how to pull yourself up out of a bad situation mentally, how to start a business, what to do with X amount of money, how to invest, or even this AI channel stuff, like here's how you start an AI channel, A to Z, the guys are not interested. They're interested in like essentially coping and I guess
Validating.
being in the echo chamber that is confirming their bias. And so a lot of guys are stuck. It's like what I was talking about on the stream when I was saying like bread in circuses, like men that pay attention to sports and that's really all they pay attention to. And it's like my team, my stat sheet, my fantasy football, all this shit. It's like it's a funny meme, but that's really what's happening with these guys. You're
Mhm.
locked in that because it distracts you from what you really should be doing. And most guys know what they should be doing. That's one of like the major issues I have with social media in general is it is a tool for distraction, but it could also be a tool for great progress in your life. But most people like everything in life, dude, the tool you use will be the thing that sets you free or destroys you. Unfortunately, people by default pick the destruction, and it's
Mhm.
so sad to see.